Hi folks, Florida Man here. Today, I'm going over the other major northern opening for England, besides the Jorvik opening. This one is called the Churchill. In a way, it's the opposite of the Jorvik opening. The Jorvik opening represents flexibility. The Churchill opening represents commitment. Specifically, the Churchill opening is only better for you than the Jorvik opening if you're strongly considering and trying to signal an early attack on Russia. It works in the following way: Edinburgh to Norwegian Sea, London to North Sea, and Liverpool to Edinburgh. You can already infer a few things from this opening. Like the man it's named for, it represents choosing a direction and not looking back. Where the Jorvik opening allowed the possibility of defending against an early French attack, the Churchill opening actively hampers your ability to do that. If you get attacked by France early on, he can convoy to Wales, and with this moveset, you have no way of stopping him. This will leave you in a compromised defensive position if you are attacked by the French, and the French player is competent, so it requires that you have a pretty good idea that France isn't attacking you from the start. When you make this opening, you will certainly be able to land a unit in Norway, and you can almost always make that unit your army if you choose to do so. So you are probably going to be picking a fight with Russia. The danger of this is that you really can't do very much to Russia without Germany's help. You really need to go after Sweden and St. Petersburg if you're going to make this gesture challenging Russia. If you're able to focus north, you might be able to defeat Russia and take St. Petersburg. If you haven't got that luxury, though, and you haven't got Germany helping you out and bouncing Russia out of Sweden, you have probably sufficiently provoked Russia to get him to build a fleet on St. Pete's north coast, and you have an enemy now who you probably could have avoided fighting. The other option with the Churchill opening, of course, is that you could leave your army on the island, or you could even convoy it through the North Sea to any of the same destinations as with the Jorvik opening. If you were thinking about doing that, though, why would you make this provocative and dangerous opening? This opening will set Russia on high alert, it makes you vulnerable to France if France is inclined to come after you early on, and there's usually no particular reason to expect Germany to be in love with it unless Germany is particularly anti-Russia in your game. So, I've been pretty negative on the Churchill opening so far. Frankly, I generally don't like this opening. I think England is already enough of a target for other powers in the early game, and there's no need to wear a kick me sign on your back and accentuate that tendency. That said, there are only two major downsides to it, and those downsides can be mitigated. The first major downside is making Russia aware you're probably about to attack him. The upside of that is that you are communicating the same thing across the entire board. That opens the door to various alliances you may have been exploring verbally, and it encourages anyone else who is thinking of taking a shot at Russia to go ahead. Aggressive openings like this and the Crimean Crusher have their uses, and I don't want to discount that. The other downside is potentially a much more existential issue since it goes to homeland defense. It's the idea that France might attack you in 1901 and probably try a convoy onto the English island, which you have made easier by opening north. French players don't perform early attacks in England very often in the present meta that I've experienced, though, so this particular major downside of the Churchill opening is usually not as bad as it could be. If that did happen, it usually means that you angered the French player with something you said, which you should probably be aware of in time to avoid making this opening. Or it means that France has made a pretty good alliance agreement with Germany and/or Russia, in which case you were always going to be in trouble no matter how you opened, and at least you can still protect London from an immediate attack. So, if this opening has some major, nearly fatal, downsides, why was I able to find games when England made this opening? When is it appropriate for England to open this way? The answer is that it's a pretty good opening for attacking Russia, or feinting at an attack on Russia. I recommend that you try it only when you're trying to either pull a Western triple, or allying with Germany with a plan to attack both France and Russia, and an understanding with France at the same time that the channel will be DMZ in 1901. Or you're pretending to be attacking Russia with an understanding with Russia that this is only a fake-out. All that said, this opening isn't the worst thing in the world. It's just not really useful for very much that the Jorvik opening doesn't do just as well or better. It's only a very specific circumstance when you want to make this opening instead. As a symbolic gesture, it represents antipathy toward Russia and trust in France. All things considered, it's worthy of its name. Churchill expressed deep concern about the Soviet Union in real life, and his public statements during World War II suggested he believed France would hold out against Germany and remain a stalwart British ally for far longer than it actually did. Be careful with this opening. It's not bad per se, but I have all the same sorts of reservations that I had about the Crimean Crusher. Now, the fact is that I just know you enjoyed this opening overview. I know it. I'm a Florida man. I have psycho powers. So you should like and subscribe and comment. You didn't have any way of knowing this until I told you, but your comments actually make me immeasurably more powerful. More powerful than you could possibly imagine. Please also consider joining my merry band of patrons and translators, credited here by name, for their contributions. The patrons are getting more than credit, by the way. They have access to exclusive content through my Patreon, which has been rapidly increasing in volume in recent months. There are podcast episodes, blog posts, and exclusive videos behind that paywall. For $1 or $2 a month, you can check it out for yourself. Link in the description. Until next time, Florida Man, out.